Real people, real opinions.
Real Talk Radio, the multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
Donald Trump has come out in the last few minutes on his own social media, and he says, I have absolutely no idea. I can't do an impersonation of Donald Trump. I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. This verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. And he's also put out a statement from the Trump campaign. The Democratic Party's never-ending witch hunt of President Trump hit an all-new low today in jurisdictions wholly controlled by the Democratic Party. Our nation's justice has been now compromised by extreme left-wing politics. We have allowed false and totally made-up claims from troubled individuals to interfere with our elections, doing great damage. And there is lots more now. Just in relation to it again, can I just mention that according to the jury, they did not believe that there was proof given that the woman was raped, but they did say they believed her that she was sexually assaulted. Joining me on the line is former associate with Time magazine and also the author of 6 novels and 12 works of non-fiction, and once almost an advisor to Donald Trump, but he's been on the air with us before, Michael Walsh. Good evening to you, Michael.
Good evening, Niall. Great to be with you.
It's an interesting night. Now, E. Jean Carroll, firstly, let's go back a little bit in time. When was the claim originally made in this case?
I think the claim was filed after they changed the law to allow claims of this nature beyond the statute of limitations. So it's a relatively recent development. She did not bring this claim back in the 90s or whenever it is. She can't remember that whatever it is happened may or may not have happened. But
it's quite bizarre that she doesn't even remember when it happened. Well, you know.
Well, you'd think so. The defense of the anti-Trump forces here in the States is that she told a girlfriend about it in great detail, and therefore, since we're in the immediate post-Me Too era, the mantra that all women have to be believed is now operative. This was the theory, basically, going into the case.
Well, the jury did believe that she was sexually assaulted. I did see one video of Donald Trump, and it could have been during his indictment, I'm not too sure in relation to this, that he was shown a photograph where seemingly she was in the same photograph. Now, I don't know how true that was or whether, but he did say the photograph was blurred or very blurry and she wasn't very identifiable in it.
Well, I mean, he's a very famous guy and has been for a long time, 40, 50 years, and his picture has been taken with many, many people, and you don't always remember the people that are in the photographs. So in that case, you know, look, the audience wants to hate Trump. For the people who hate him, they want to hate him. And the people who are defending him are, I would say, shyer about defending him because this is a well-known aspect of his public personality, the ladies' man, the playboy, having a brief one-night stand with a porn star while his wife was pregnant with their son. You know, he is not a good human being. I think we all agree on that.
He's not the model citizen. No.
No, hardly. But Alan Dershowitz just made this point on American television, which is if the jury found that Trump didn't rape her, then E. Jean Carroll, this is according to Alan Dershowitz, very prominent attorney here in the United States, is lying that she perjured herself by claiming that he raped her. So he's basically been found guilty of some sexual battery charge or sexual harassment charge for a crime that was not convincing to the jury that it even happened.
Well,
the
crime is, allegedly the civil case is battery, alleging his conduct qualified as a sexual offence. Now, I don't even know what that means. So it qualified as a sexual offence. In other words, they say that it could be classed as forcible touching. So she also got money punitive damages as well. So she got $5 million. It's broken down into different.
Right, it's broken down. She got $2 million for, you know, the battery part of it, and the rest of it has to do with defamation. But it puts Trump in a very odd position, as you've already noted, is he's being found guilty of defaming a woman when he says it didn't happen. And the principal charge was not found to be true. You can't say one way or the other, where whether this was true or not. There was no physical evidence. It wasn't done at the time. It couldn't pass any criminal case test, obviously, which is why it was.
Yes,
brought
in
to
a
one of our
civil trial, of course, the burden of proof is less because in a criminal trial, the burden of proof is more. And also that Alan Dersh has also said that an appeal should be won, and I would expect would be won if the defendant's name was not Donald Trump.
Right. Well, they got O.J. in a civil trial because they couldn't get him in a criminal trial. Let's go back to the O.J. case.
But we all know O.J. was as guilty as sin.
Oh, everybody knew he was guilty of sin. Yeah, but they couldn't. The jury was determined to let him go. It was a case of what we call jury nullification here. So some justice was served by having him charged and losing in civil court. And the people who hate Donald Trump, and there's many of them, there's 80 million of them here in the United States who allegedly voted in the last election, they're going to see this as a vindication. And the hardcore, diehard Trump supporters are going to see this as, see, we told you. So this verdict actually gets nobody nowhere, so to speak.
I know he did say before the jury even came back, yesterday I think it was, that he would appeal it either way. And that he's going to take an appeal. Is he wasting his time taking an appeal? Because it does look like the cards are stacked against him either way. She's got her money. She's going to walk away with $5 million. And, that's the last he's going to hear of it. It's not a criminal trial. He's not going to end up back in court again for the rape charge or anything like that. So realistically, is it worth his while to have his name back up at lights again to appeal it? Now, I know they say if you're innocent, you should shout from the rooftops. But is it worth his while?
Well, given you made it the point of what Dershowitz said, is if his name was Donald Cudahy, it would be. If his name's Donald Trump, probably not. Look, the memory of the American public is very close to that of a fruit fly or a gnat. And if he just ignores this, pays the money, and shuts up about it, it will vanish from the headlines tomorrow. It'll be like it never happened. But given his nature, which is to try to score on every play and always be right about everything, I wouldn't put it past him to make the unforced error of appealing this.
Well, I mean, if you're taking defamation seriously, literally as the jury's last words were out of their mouth, he went on to Truth Social. And he said it once again, which is what he said before and the reason he was in court in the first place. I've absolutely no idea who this woman is. The verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. That's what he said. Literally, as the last words left our mouth.
You'd expect him to say that. I mean, he's never wrong. He's always right. And, he may go down swinging on this. I personally would hope that he doesn't, but I think he probably will.
Mm. In relation to other news, of course, you've written your own piece, and I'll mention that. I'll pop it up on my Twitter again a little bit later on, in relation to Ireland's hate speech laws, which, like many people, you've drawn attention to the fact that these laws are quite Orwellian. On that note of freedom of speech, and I don't know whether you've heard the latest news, and just for our listeners as well, Tucker Carlson, who was let go from Fox News only a week and a half ago, is back. He stated in a short video on Twitter a few moments ago that every story should matter, and he stated that the rule of what you can't say defines everything. It's filthy, and he said he has praised Twitter as everyone is allowed here, and we think it's a good thing. In other words, he's going to work for Twitter.
He is, yes, and I'm very happy about that. A point that I made in my piece, which we should tell the audience, is you can find at my website called thepipeline.org, O-R-G, is about the proposed law by Minister Simon Harris that really is an assault on freedom of thought, even more than speech, freedom of thought. And the manifest problems with this law have been pointed out not only by me, but many people around the world. Ireland finally got what it's been wanting, attention, but it's not in a good way. Ireland looks terrible with this, terrible. It is damaging the country in the eyes of, well, we got 60 million Irish Americans here who are pretty agitated about it, and around the world. Musk even said, and for Minister Harris to say any day that you disagree with Elon Musk is a good day at the office, I suggest to the minister that he may want to rethink that stance.
I mean, you are right. Ireland has got attention all over the world for all the wrong reasons, from probably some of the most powerful people in the world for all the wrong reasons. The argument from the Irish government, to give the counter-argument, of course, from the Irish government is this is something that's needed. We have to stamp out hatred because, of course, nobody condones, violence based on race, colour, creed, sexual orientation. Nobody would condone, abuse, oral abuse or verbal abuse, should I say, in relation to that. But what the problem we have is, and what you outline in your own article, in your own piece on the pipeline.org, is how you define that. And unfortunately, we're in a situation where there is no definition because one man's definition is different to the next man's.
Well, look, people are human. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to think the thoughts they're going to think. Unless you get into the mind control weeds, trying to proscribe natural human emotions, you're in a very, very, very dangerous spot here. And I think I'm glad that this law has gotten the attention, this proposed law has gotten the attention. I'm sorry there's no way to derail it short of President Higgins referring it to the High Court, which I hope he would do.
Well, he can refer it to the Supreme Court, actually, yes, for its constitutionality. Yes. Yes, the Supreme Court. I wasn't quite sure of the terminology. But Ireland has seriously damaged itself. And yet, here's the problem with this now. It presupposes that those on the far right, and as I listen to RTE, apparently everybody that doesn't agree with RTE and the government's position is far right, not just conservative, not just kind of moderate, far right crazies. They assume that this is what people who disagree with them on the validity of this law or the need for it, they assume those people are ready to jump on an immigrant or a gay person at the drop of the hat. And let me just say this for the record, the whole country that's listening. That is categorically untrue. Untrue. They are defaming their own people by proposing a law like this. And that's disgraceful. And you know what? I've spoken to people on both sides, if you want to call it sides, left and right, over the last week and a half. And the majority of people believe this law is unnecessary. We already have Incitement to Hatred Act. We could have updated that act just to include social media, for example, to some degree. We already have an act. Incitement to hatred is already illegal in this country. It's illegal in most countries in the world, actually, by the way, to incite hatred against any group or any minority or any community. So the suggestion that we take that further seems to be bizarre.
Real people, real opinions.
Real Talk Radio, the multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.